All right, we are live, and look at this. What is happening? What is happening? Something really cool has happened, by the way. First of all, the fog outside is incredible. Can we see the fog? Let's see the fog. Oh my God! Can you focus on the fog? I don't think. Yes, we can see a little bit of the fog. It's incredible. It's incredible. Okay, hopefully this is still in the right place. Or are we in the right spot? Maybe we're in the right spot. Okay, perfect. Yeah, the fog is incredible. Today we had a good time with our friends. And what are we seeing over here now? We are seeing Dan Koe go at it all over again. So Dan Koe wrote this post, 110, 140 million views. And then after that, Nikita Beard is like, okay, $1 million prize for the best article in the next 2-week period. So this is very cool to see that Dan Koe has written the next one. People tried to copy his exact format, which is how to fix your entire life in one day, to a bunch of things, how to fix your entire life in 12 hours and everything. And now Dan Koe is back. How to fix your entire life in 1 hour. And people have been copying this entire format. People have been copying the structure of the title, the format. There was this one article by Vittorio, which was about how women have moved left and men have stayed almost center right, stuff like that. And that was reshared by Elon. And people were thinking that that's the one. But let's see. Over here, Dan Koe has done it again. Crazy SOB did it again. What's a TLDR? Do productive transformative things for an hour each day. Is it because the last one took an entire day to read and this one takes an hour? I finally fixed my life. Okay, let's see. How many views do you have? So this is some good drama. People have been saying that, hey, just give it away to Dan Koe already. It seems like you have stolen the prize from Dan Koe. And the really cool part is, okay, $1 million prize winner, tentative. Oh my God, $1 million prize winner, tentative. This is crazy. He posted this six hours ago. I think this entire feed, this entire drama is really cool. How to actually fix your life. Sleep well. That's interesting. I think Vittorio is competing for the same prize. Professional shit poster. Friendly reminder. This stops being a fair trade around 35. Any chance you can help me move today? Pizza and beers on me afterwards. Bro, you're 37, hire somebody, not throwing my back out for something I was already planning on doing later tonight. The main loneliness epidemic is men not having friends anymore. Men don't have friends anymore because they are lazy. Interesting. Being homosexual is not even top 40. Huh. I don't know what he means. Wow. What is happening over here in this photo? It's some crazy standing posture. An attack on one is an attack on all. I have no idea what is happening. Oh my God. Oh my God. We need to delete this. What is happening? Okay. What we are truly looking for is, yes, we are looking for this worth studying. So Elon, we don't know if Elon really knows what's happening over here, but yeah, Elon retweeting a post is obviously, it's like you have won the race by decree. So if you look at this post, this is sitting at 29 million views right now. Okay. And Elon's retweet already got him 22 million. So very interesting stuff. All right. What is happening? $1 million prizes aside, I think there's been a quiet hunger for articles. Okay, I read this today. That said, good luck everyone. May the odds be ever in your favor. Brevity is the soul of wit. Refreshing to know. Why specifically pre-2015 books? But I feel like books have become similar to social media. Authors are writing to hit NYT rather than for the love of the game, which is fine. I don't blame them at all. But when you write from that frame, you make decisions to water things down, make them more attention grabbing for the sake of it, and strip the timelessness from it. Most, not all, are writing for a quick hit and revenue spike so they can close speaking gigs, get on podcasts. The book is more of a lever for more influence rather than something they think the world would benefit from. I think this is interesting. So what are books? Books are basically saying that book is a very tangible thing. Yes, somebody can come up with a good podcast and you can share the podcast, but a book is much more tangible. People give gifts. People give books as gifts. You will gift a book to your friend, to your family, to someone that you know. It's so beautiful outside. So this is interesting. What he's saying over here, something they would do a benefit from. And he also came up with this one: how to articulate yourself intelligently. This was 15th Jan. This was also one day before the timeline. This is crazy. These are the Legos that compose most of my outlines. I tend to cycle through all of them in my head. Once you get the hang of it, it becomes second nature and your thinking process starts to rewire. I hope that was helpful enough to get you started. I think so. Dan basically said that he comes up with he actually posts 1 to 2 times every week. So it's interesting. It seems like what he's going to do now, he's going to keep hitting. He's going to keep increasing the volume. I think he might increase the volume and just go every 2 to 3 days and post something so that for the final entry, he has multiple articles. He has this entire wave going on, and he can use the one big article that actually bursted or that actually exploded to get views to his other articles. And people also know that, hey, he is the legitimate winner over here. His article actually crushed it. So people also want to support him. So there is this, I think this is very incredible what Dan could be doing over here. 750K. By the way, if we look at this, what is the ratio for Dan? He has 30K.2 posts and his followers are 750K, and it seems like he got most of his followers today, like in the past couple of days. His ratio is 25. Wow. So he has actually posted a lot. The primary reason people don't achieve big goals is because they don't realize that the only source of truth is making mistakes. They soak up advice and theory, expecting it to be an exact match to their mind experience in a situation, just to fail once and give up completely. So this is the 151. This is sitting at 151 million views, and he could leverage that to go for this one. Wow. Sleep well, read the Bible, even if you don't believe it, it's just true. Go gym or walk some every day. Eat well, do the thing, have sex. Okay, amazing. Let's see. So here's the article. What are we gonna do? Control of consciousness determines the quality of life. Mihai. Csikszentmihalyi. Flow, the psychology of optimal experience. So many people are rooting for you to win that $1 million. Go Dan, go. You deserve it. For people who want a sneak peek about Dan's AI content creation flow.
Finding a viral post, I've been doing content like in the end. Most of us still brute force paste something in, ask for tweets, and get the worst tweets you've ever read, and still include hashtags. So I sat down with Dan Koe to see how he does it. First, start by finding a viral post using tools like SweetHunterX, SuperX, then use Claude or ChatGPT to break it down. Psychology, rhythm, patterns, basically everything that made it work. Then do this with a couple of other viral posts as well. After that, ask the LLM to combine these breakdowns into one thorough guide. What you will now have will be a comprehensive anatomy of viral posts. Now, for the context, you have to ask it to interview you, and it'll pull out a list of questions to learn what makes you, you. After that, use this response plus the anatomy, and feed it into this special prompt that will essentially create a two-phase system. Here, phase 1 will be about gathering more context, like your ideas, audience, domain, and phase 2 will be about drafting the best 3 versions in your style, where all you have to do is post the winner.
Very cool. Very cool. What people don't know is that Dan lives this. His own focus is insane. His work ethic is unmatched. I hope you win the million. You earned it. Give this man his money, James Camp. You deserve the 1 million for this. How to make $1 million with one post. Good luck. You deserve this. How to fix your entire life in one day. Too long, boss. Should be 1 minute instead. $1 million would fix me. Send me the audiobook, Dan Koe. Finally. Get this man his flowers. By flowers, I mean $1 million. Clint Murphy. We met Clint Murphy. Completely different article. Just trolling in the title. Now I'm logging off for a month after this one. You haven't experienced anything near what you are capable of, and if you learn how to unlock that power, you can do what most people consider impossible. Unfortunately, most people have the idea of success completely backward. They think they need to grind for 12 hours a day like their favorite entrepreneur to see any form of result. The reality is you have responsibilities. I get it. Some of you can't just magically scrape back time. You may have a job, kid, spouse. Those things are important. Meaning you probably have 1 hour a day you can put toward a better future, and that's a great thing because you can drastically change your life in 365 hours. 1 hour a day, one meaningful project, one vision for your future. Whoa. Wait, Whisperflow is not working. Whisperflow. Activate. Okay, make flow sounds like you. Flow adapts to how you write in different apps. Personalize your style for messages, work chats, emails, and other apps so every word sounds like you. Start personalization. How do you write your personal messages? Very casual. Very casual. All right. How do you write your work messages? Casual. More exclamations. Less punctuation. How do you write your emails? Casual. How do you write in other apps? Excited. You're all set. Okay, hold function, then watch flow in action. Okay, I think we're good. All right, let's go. What is the summary of Mihai's book on flow? Actually, remove that. What are the key takeaways of Mihai's book on flow? You can change your mind with flow, with backtrack. Flow automatically updates your text when you change your mind mid-sentence. Yes. Happiness is a process, not a prize. Fulfillment doesn't come from status, comfort, or outcomes that emerges when attention is fully engaged in something meaningful. Flow is what happens. Happiness feels like while it's happening, not afterward. Flow lives at the edge of difficulty. Flow rises when challenge. Is this something you can build with Claude? This is something interesting. We'll come back to it later. What are some interesting apps we can build using the principles of flow by Mihai? Okay. We'll let this go and we'll go back to Dan Koe, or this one. Flow lives at the edge of difficulty. Flow rises when challenge and skill are perfectly matched. Too easy, boredom. Too easy is boredom. Too hard is anxiety. Just right is absorption. Quick check on the beautiful weather. Okay, it is incredible. It is incredible. All right. Too hard anxiety, just right absorption. This makes growth feel energizing rather than draining. Attention is your most precious currency. Life quality, how you allocate attention. Distraction, fragments, experience, flow, concentrates. Life quality is how you allocate attention. Distraction, fragments, experience, flow, concentrates. Whoever control your attention controls your experience of life. Clear goals plus immediate feedback unlock immersion. Flow states reliably appear when the goal is unambiguous. Feedback is continuous. You always know what to do next and whether it worked. The self dissolves, then returns stronger. In flow, self-consciousness disappears. Time warps. Action and awareness merge. Action and awareness merge. Afterward, the self returns more integrated and confident. Paradoxically, losing the ego temporarily strengthens it long term. External conditions matter less than inner order. People can experience flow and poverty, illness, or chaos. Others feel empty amid abundance. The difference is the ability to structure consciousness regardless of circumstances. I think this is very interesting. This is very interesting. Everything is a distraction. Like even right now, this beautiful view is a distraction. But what you have to do is you have to go out, enjoy it quickly, and you need to know that, hey, after watching it for 5 seconds, you will be bored. So come back, get back to work. So it's like, yeah, it's okay to get distracted. It's not okay. And so you don't have to say distracted. You just have to very carefully pick what are the things that give you happiness. So for me, if this is something that gives me happiness, then okay, go smell the flowers along the way and then get back to work. Because again, this is true with everything. Even if you go on vacation, after the first 2 days, you are like, okay, I'm done. Now I need to go back and get back to work. So it's very interesting. All right. People can experience flow in poverty, illness, or chaos. Others feel empty amid abundance. The difference is the ability to structure consciousness, regardless of circumstances. Autotelic lives compound. The most fulfilled people treat activities as ends in themselves, not means to something else. They build lives rich in flow moments, not future promises. The most fulfilled people treat activities as end in themselves. I think this is truly important. End in themselves. Activities that are end in themselves. You're doing this because because you want to do this. You're not doing this to get something else. Not means to something else. They build lives rich. I was just talking to someone who mentioned to me that cooking for her is therapy. And you just slowly realize that, wait, everything that you end up deciding to do for the long term is pretty much like therapy. Like if I love to go on walks, if I love to go out and grab coffee, that's because that is the end. That is the end. They build lives rich in flow moments, not future promises. Work can be a playground. Leisure often isn't. Ironically, many people experience more flow at work. Leisure becomes passive consumption. Flow requires active engagement, not relaxation alone. Meaning emerges from chosen complexity. A good life isn't the easiest one. It's one where you want to really take on complexity, refine skill, and deepen involvement with the world. One line essence: flow is what life feels like when attention, challenge, and purpose. Attention, challenge, and purpose click into place. Translate this in daily habits, map it onto creative work, AI research. Whoa, what is this? Design a flow maxing life system. It's very interesting. So Dan basically talks about Mihai a lot. So this is what he's getting his inspiration from. 1 hour a day, one meaningful project, one vision for your future. If you can spend 8 hours building someone else's dream, you can spend 1 hour building your own. You don't need more time. You need a deep sense of clarity that allows you to make the most of the time you currently have, and you need to feel like your efforts are making a difference in your life. A pattern I've noticed in successful creators and CEOs that didn't sacrifice their life for success is that they physically worked very little. Yet people see them as hard workers. They physically worked very little, but yet people see them as hard workers. Mentally, they were always thinking, plotting, and scheming. They worked in their mind, and once they were clear on their idea, they executed with speed that others couldn't compete with. That didn't sacrifice their life for success, that they physically worked very little, yet people see them as hard workers. Mentally, they were always thinking, plotting, and scheming. They worked in their mind, and once they were clear on their idea, they executed with speed that others couldn't compete with. Productivity is like fitness, and you wouldn't train 8 hours a day with no food or sleep and expect to make progress. The same applies to the mind. Building intense bursts of deep work to bring a project to life, like a product, service, or brand. Maintenance, consistent and often repetitive work that you have systemized to keep what you build alive, like marketing or customer service. Recovery, subconscious work that almost everyone ignores. The rest, leisure, and lack of narrow focused stress that allows breakthrough ideas to form the future of your work. Building, maintenance, recovery. Building, maintenance, recovery. Subconscious work that almost everyone ignores. The rest, the leisure, and lack of narrow focused stress that allows breakthrough ideas to form the future of your work. Your goal then is to build 1 hour a day until you are able to pursue what you want full time. Then you start to think about transitioning into maintenance work. So what do you build? How do you pierce through the distractions and inner voice that seems to be your enemy? Where do you find a never-ending source of motivation to show up every day? The answers to those questions determine much of your life. I have 6 ideas to share with you on deep productivity, not just sit down and do the work, because that's been ran through enough and obviously hasn't fixed everyone's problems. You need understanding. You need to dissect the psychology of focus, how distractions work, and finally a protocol you can use to make your 1 hour a day count. This is part 2 of last article that seemed to break X. Sorry, Elon. This one will be just as comprehensive, a complete productivity masterclass, so you can get 10 books worth of knowledge from one article. My hope is that I leave you with no option but to feel clear on what you want out of life and how to get it. Because of that, this will be long. All I ask is that you dedicate your full attention. If you don't have the time, bookmark it and come back to it. Let's begin. Why it's so hard to sit down and do the work? The optimal state of inner experience is one in which there is order in consciousness. This happens when psychic energy or attention is invested in realistic goals, and when skills match the opportunities for action. The pursuit of a goal brings order and awareness, because a person must concentrate attention on the task at hand and momentarily forget everything else. It's invested in realistic goals, and when skills match the opportunities for action. The pursuit of a goal brings order and awareness, because a person must concentrate attention on the task at hand and momentarily forget everything else. Your mind is a supercomputer running the game of life. Your attention, an incredibly scarce resource, is the RAM. RAM, for the non-technical, means random access memory, determines the performance of the computer. The more programs and browser tabs you have open, the slower your computer will be. The mind works the same way, but there is one major caveat. You have a threshold for how much your mind can process. Human can process about 50 bits of conscious information per second. Unconscious mind can manage about 11 million bits per second. This is for things like walking, sensing, accessing stored habits or patterns, but that's aside the point. When you add it up, you have about 125 billion bits of information to use up in your lifetime. That's it. That's your potential. Every single thing you give your attention lowers the number by a small amount. That should terrify you. Every single thing you give your attention lowers the number by a small amount. That should terrify you. Sadly, most people live with multiple high-demand programs running at the same time. It's no wonder they can't focus. Their attention is split between thoughts about regretful past mistakes, stressful future tasks, desires for pleasure, entertainment to escape those, and open loops of tasks they were supposed to complete but forgot about. The list of distractions goes on, and that's a danger. If you understand entropy, you understand that by doing nothing with your life, it only becomes more chaotic and overwhelming. You don't stay the same. You dig yourself deeper into a rut without trying. The good life demands consistent effort toward your own goals. You know the feeling. When everything aligns and you enter a blur of fulfilling work, I want to show you how to replicate it. Entropy, for those wondering, is one of the most fundamental principles in physics. The simple version is that there are vastly more ways for things to be disorganized than organized. So systems naturally tend toward messier and often more chaotic states. Energy needs to be put into keeping things ordered. If you don't put energy into maintaining your bookshelf, books will end up all over your house, at your friend's house, and in places you didn't think they could end up. The longer you go without organizing your shelf, the more effort it will take when you finally decide to. Further, if you don't put effort into cleaning your room, it will slowly get messier and messier until you are late for work because your good socks are under a pizza box from last week. Psychic entropy, or mind tending toward disorder, can then be a useful metaphor to view focus and distractions. Useful for creativity, as we will learn when we talk about a better type of routine. But when it comes to focused work, it's obvious why you can't laser in on one thing. You're unproductive because you don't have clarity. You don't have clarity because you allow your attention to drift toward one direction, and before you know it, your mind is like the end of a frat party. People passed out everywhere, and you don't even know where to start cleaning. The good thing is that the solution is simple but powerful. How to unlock insane focus on command. Challenge, skill, apathy, depressed, distracted, boredom. High skill, low challenge. High skill, low challenge, relaxation, confident, relaxed. High skill, medium challenge, control. Low skill, medium challenge, worry, stressed, distracted. Anxiety, alert, distracted. Arousal, alert, focus. Flow, locked in. Enjoyment. Clarity, importance, and urgency. Clarity, importance, and urgency. Clarity, importance, and urgency. Those are the critical ingredients that prevent distractions from penetrating your mind. Those are the requirements needed for deep focused work. That is challenging enough to be normal. If that task overwhelms you, you need to break the task down into sub-goals that you do have clarity on. Then you can execute and acquire the skill that allows you to continue moving to the main task. For you to find something important, you need to fully understand where your life will end up without achieving the goal and what your potential could be if you achieve the goal. Urgency is what gets you to sit down and work right now rather than later. But we'll discuss the exact protocol for all of this in a few paragraphs. The simplest formula for reaching the flow state, or the most optimal state of experience, is to ensure that the challenge you're taking on is just barely above your skill level. Because think about it, if the challenge of a goal is too high for your skill level, you get anxious. If the challenge is too low, you get bored. In a video game, you wouldn't fight a level 100 character when you are level 1. It wouldn't be fun. By the way, it's so funny. I have a friend who I always keep bumping into around the city. Now, he changed his gym. I changed my place. And today, I ended up walking into his gym and ended up getting a tour of his gym, and I walk into him. It's the most bizarre, craziest thing ever. I'm on this beautiful lunch with my friends. After that, I keep walking. I go around in circles. I'm checking out the places that I've never been. I'm exploring. And I end up at this gym that I have always heard of, but I've never been to. And then I walk in and I see his girlfriend outside. And then I go walk in and I see him inside. That's crazy. It's crazy. I keep bumping into him everywhere. Okay. If the challenge is too low, you get bored. In a video game, you wouldn't find level 100 character when you are level 1. It wouldn't be fun, obviously. Imagine you are at a job. The work is repetitive and doesn't challenge you in the slightest. You get bored, and that boredom leads to self-centeredness. Your focus breaks, and you start to think of better things you could be doing. Imagine you are forced to speak in front of 1,000 people. You haven't practiced before, it's overwhelming, so you become anxious. It leads to self-consciousness. Your focus turns inward, and negative thoughts flood your mind about how you aren't good enough. But these aren't always a bad thing. They are only the enemies when you are trying to focus. And that's just it. People aren't focused on the tasks that will actually create the life they want. They get stuck in doing mode, a narrow state of stress that prevents you from registering ideas or opportunities that could change your life, and feel like they are worthless. Okay, he's talking about focus, and now I'm talking. And now that we are talking about him, I just met a friend, and I just wanted to share him something cool. Ice cream portfolio. Let's go. Okay, sure. Your focus turns inward and negative thoughts flood your mind about how you aren't good enough, but these aren't always a bad thing. They are only the enemies when you are trying to focus, and that's just it. People aren't focused on the tasks that will actually create the life they want. They get stuck in doing mode, a narrow state of stress that prevents you from registering ideas or opportunities that could change your life, and feel like they are worthless if they aren't being productive, because society has convinced them that productivity is the highest value. Boredom, in fact, can be a gateway to novelty. Anxiety can very well be the chaos you need for ultimate creativity. Your inability to sit in a room alone is likely the source of most of your problems. So what's missing? The answer lies in the fact that everyone works too much. Boredom can be a gateway to novelty. They're only the enemies when you are trying to focus, and that's just that. People aren't focused on the tasks that will actually create the life they want. They get stuck in doing mode and feel like they are worthless if they aren't being productive, because society has convinced them that productivity is the highest value. The routines of highly successful creatives fill your brain in the afternoons with books, learning, and socialization. Empty your brain before bed with journaling, planning, and meditation. Use your brain in the morning with creation, output, and focus. I've always had some form of aversion toward Western work culture, 80-hour work weeks, high pressure environments, little time for rest and recovery. It never seemed right to me. It was mechanical, robotic, soulless. Why would I work on something I dislike for people I dislike, knowing that my actions don't contribute to my future? Because if they did, I wouldn't have a problem working, because it wouldn't feel like work. Most people wear overwork as a badge of honor, but the artists, creatives, and visionaries we actually remember aren't participating in that imaginary race. The ancient Greeks, as an example, saw rest as a gift. It was the pinnacle of civilized life. Almost every ancient society recognized that both work and rest were necessary for a good life. One provided the means to live, the other gave meaning to life. Work and rest. It wasn't until industrialization 9-to-5 jobs even became a thing, and now we can't imagine our lives any other way. Before that, most people were self-employed farmers and artisans. They directed their own work, which is going to be a critical decision one must make as AI continues to accelerate the automation of jobs. When we reverse engineer the lifestyles of highly successful creatives, we see the same pattern. Sleep. Oh wow. William Styron. Food, leisure. Okay. Creative work. This is actually pretty cool. Okay. Franz Kafka got a lot of work done super late. Green is day job and admin. Exercise. Whoa, John Milton is the one who exercised the most. Charles Dickens, Franz Kafka. This is pretty cool. The daily routines of famous creative people. Haruki Murakami. Murakami worked from 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then he was leisure. And he would run Voltaire, Benjamin Franklin, Maya Angelou, Ludwig van Beethoven, Le Corbusier. Oh wow, Le Corbusier, looked into him. Victor Hugo, Charles Dickens, Sigmund Freud. Immanuel Kant and Kurt seem to have a lot of day job admin work. Pablo Picasso. Okay. They didn't grind 16 hours a day. Well, sometimes they did, but it was because they chose to, not because they were forced to master difference. In fact, most of the time was spent in leisure. Yet they contributed some of the most important ideas to society that have impacted our lives today. They lounged by the pool, played tennis, or paced the grounds of the Apple campus because they were one of the few people who realized what happens in the brain while at rest. That's when the best work was done. By the way, when I say rest, I don't mean bubble baths and wine. Most people use cheap pleasures as an escape from the life they hate and call it rest. When focus shifts inward, when you stop focusing on external tasks, your brain automatically shifts into the default mode network, which connects regions of the brain associated with visual thinking and creativity. The interesting thing is, our brains don't use much less energy in this mode, meaning while you are at rest, your brain is still at work, and it is working quite hard. This is the secret of successful creatives. They take their rest because society isn't going to give it to them, and their brain lights up with ideas that they can quickly jot down. Then when it's time for a deep focus session, they bring those ideas to life by applying them to a meaningful project that leads to the future they desire. It comes with 3 activities. 1 that fills your mind. You need education, ideas, and novel resources you can apply toward your goals. This leads to intrinsic motivation. 1 that empties your mind. You don't want to be trapped in a chaotic bubble of thoughts and useful ideas. That's exactly how you make zero progress and write things down. 1 that uses your mind. You need a vessel to focus your efforts, a project, a business, something of your own that you can apply your education and ideas to. We will discuss the last one so you can get into a state of deep focused work, but for now you have my permission to rest because that is what makes your work impactful. Go on a walk, drive up to the woods for a day, pull out a notebook and imagine a better future. This all sounds cute, but it still doesn't help the people who don't know what to do, and especially doesn't help the people who don't have the motivation to step into a new life. In a few moments in my life that I remember vividly, they always followed the same pattern. Tension with the lack of progress I was making. I knew something had to change. Second, the tension became unbearable. I knew that I was letting my future self down. I disappeared. I started over from scratch. My life seemingly flipped in an instant, and I entered a season of deep obsession towards a goal. I'm curious. How old is that Dan Koe? I disappeared. I started over from scratch. My life seemingly flipped in an instant. And I entered a season of deep obsession towards a goal. I wanted to understand this process, so I went looking. Here's what I found. Being extreme changes your brain. Neurons that fire together wire together. That's Hebb's law, a famous saying that summarizes a neuropsychological theory related to neuroplasticity. Rewire itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. Your brain isn't fixed and rigid. It can adapt, learn, and change based on your experiences, thoughts, and actions. Being extreme about changing a life helps quicken this process. People scream about how consistency is key, which is true due to repetition reinforcing natural neural pathways through consistent effort, but we can take it a step further. Novelty and challenge stimulate neuroplasticity even more. So when you flip the switch and pursue a goal with all your might, you put your brain in an environment that quickly adapts and helps that become your new standard. You put your brain in an environment that quickly adapts and helps that become your new standard. Intensity and obsession create a neurochemical cocktail. Most people fall into a rut because they seek extrinsic motivators. But when you're obsessed in the context of this discussion, you are fueled by intrinsic motivators, each of which stacks onto and strengthens each other in a way that sustains some degree of flow, optimal experience, or one of the most enjoyable states of mind. Curiosity, the desire to explore the unknown, learn how to change and fill knowledge gaps, results in good dopamine from novelty and norepinephrine, which heightens attention, preparing you to learn. Curiosity, the desire to explore the unknown, learn how to change and fill knowledge gaps, results in good dopamine from novelty. Norepinephrine, which heightens attention, preparing you to learn. Passion, intense enthusiasm is built for the path that allows you to change your life. More good dopamine. Purpose, the feeling that your actions contribute to something larger than yourself. Achieving goals results in more dopamine, which reinforces behavior. Serotonin stems from significance and belonging. Oxytocin stems from connection. The desire to direct your own life and work, to control your choices, actions, and environment results in yet again more dopamine and a reduction in cortisol. The stress from feeling put in a box, allowing for creative decision making. The process of learning and growing is its own reward. Results in sustainable good dopamine that keeps you in the game. You start with curiosity and experimentation until you find one thing that pulls you deeper. You become passionate in the goal. Once enough effort is invested, you don't just choose your passion. You break off the default path and acquire the skill to be autonomous and direct your own work, often through entrepreneurship. You shift from shallow reasoning, making money, to a philosophical sense of mastery, allowing you to stay in the game. You will understand how all of these come into play when we incorporate them into a daily focused work block. Your mind filters reality based on what you're obsessed with. A man who conceives himself to be a failure type person will find some way to fail, in spite of all his good intentions or his willpower, even if opportunity is literally dumped in his lap. The person who conceives himself to be a victim of injustice, one who was meant to suffer, will invariably find circumstances to verify his opinions. Your brain operates on a salience network, meaning whatever provides the most dopamine becomes the most important. For our ancestors, their sole goal was sex and survival. That was what was important to them. Their minds were biased toward noticing scarce resources such as fat, sugar, or salt. Hijack this part of our brain, digital fat, sugar, and salt. They have studied how this mechanism works endlessly and have weaponized it to keep you on the platform. Cheap dopamine epidemic we find ourselves in. Our brain used to point out resources that would allow us to survive and thrive. But now there are so many distractions that we get trapped in this overwhelming bubble of nothingness. Our lives only become substantially worse unless we rip the band-aid off and laser in on a goal we choose for ourselves. Your mind starts to heal, and your newfound curiosity will guide you toward the knowledge, skills, and actions required for a unique form of success. That leads us into how to structure your life to maximize this effect. The deep work routine that changed my life. You need a routine, and if you think you don't, you may not realize that you already have a routine that you didn't create. But we don't just want any old routine. We want to ensure that what you are working on moves the needle toward the life you want, especially if you only have 1 hour to spare. Help you determine what is worth that 1 hour of your time. Other than that, I would highly encourage you to take intentional rest throughout your days. I write first thing in the mornings, as that is my highest leverage task in my businesses. I'm the distribution guy. The success of the company is dependent on how well my writing does. One post can reach millions, which is an absurd amount of leverage. Of course, that doesn't happen every time, especially if they haven't started on their own path. Building the product could be the most important task to spend their 1 hour on. Building maintenance recovery, they can start to shift their priorities around. Productivity blocks and creativity blocks, 2 completely different modes of focus. One narrow, one open. Block 1 first thing in the morning, then I go on a walk as a creativity block. Remember the default mode network in the brain. A few more rounds until the day's work is done. That acts as a hard stop for thinking about work, allowing our mind to do what it does best. Levers, education, projects, goals, mission, anti-vision, vision. Become brutally aware of two things: what you don't want, where you will end up if you keep taking the same actions. Observe the mouses and see where mindless action leads. It's not pretty. Sit with your thoughts here. It's easier to know what you don't want than what you want. So create an anti-vision for your future. Sit with a notebook and get specific. Write out every single thing that you don't want and why. You should feel this deep sense of discomfort. Start to do it. Do not stop writing until you feel this. With that discomfort, get petty. Like really petty. Write down exactly what your life would look like if you were able to create it from scratch. Think of the big goals you have always thought of achieving but set on the bookshelf because they are irrational. If your friends and family think you wouldn't achieve these goals, even better. In the same notebook from above, write out exactly what you are going to do to achieve those things. Write down every little thing you will need to learn from the top down, your ideal future to the exact step you must take. Map out what needs to be done. The last thing you are going to write down is all of the potential distractions standing in the way of the life you want. Success is less about being disciplined and more about removing the distractions that make discipline difficult. Next, disappear. Success is less about being disciplined and more about removing the distractions that make discipline difficult. Not from life, but from what is binding you to your old ways. These can be people, games, apps. It's easier to remove everything at once and deal with the pain than it is to tell everyone your plans and listen to their crab in a bucket opinions. Remove everything at once and deal with the pain than it is to tell everyone your plans and listen to their crab in a bucket opinions. In other words, break your addiction with feeling horrible. Usually due to giving time and energy to people, activities, and things that don't care for your well-being. You don't need to explain yourself. Create a hierarchy of goals. The mind craves order. You need to create a new mental frame that you can tap into at any time. And remember, you need to put energy into the system that will create the life you want, or else your mind will slowly become more disordered and chaotic, whether you like it or not. That's what we are doing here. We are creating an impenetrable frame. We aren't setting goals in hopes that we achieve them. Big goals are for direction, small goals are for clarity. We're simply making an educated guess at the path you need to take when it comes to actually moving along that path. You will need to adapt in real time, which is what we will learn last. You don't need endless motivation when the task in front of you is so stupidly simple that you can't help but complete it. Break down your vision into small pieces. Create a 10-year goal, then a 1-year goal, then a 1-month goal, then a 1-week goal. But now we need something worth working on. That is arguably the missing piece for most people's lives. Project-based learning. You know what you don't want out of life. You have an idea of what you want out of life. Now you need to acquire the skills and knowledge that bridge the gap between both. How do you slowly start moving into the unknown? By having a way to order any potential chaos along the way. Personal projects. The best way to learn is to build a real world project and only search for information when you need it. How much you learn is directly correlated with how much progress you make on the project. When you watch endless tutorials, you fill your mind with noise. Most of the information goes to waste. It leads to overwhelming anxiety and slows down how fast you learn. When it comes time to actually build the project, you feel as if you learn nothing because you still don't know what to do. Endless consumption creates endless options. We don't want that. It is rare that people just learn Photoshop from watching tutorials. They have an image they want to create, they try and fail, and from that failure they have something specific to learn that can be directly applied. No knowledge goes to waste. You try, fail, and search for the information you need right when you need it. A project can be anything. Your health can be a project. Your business can be a project. A project is simply a structured way of achieving a goal or making progress toward a goal. The bridge between where you are and where you want to be is a series of projects that reflect the value you have developed in your yourself, if you like, you can turn that project into a product because you've solved a problem in your own life and can now help others do the same. A quality project is the only qualification you need to start a business nowadays, or even get hired by posting about it online, which is an incredible thing considering it is one of the last options to take. Once everything is automated out of existence, here's how you start. Choose something to build that moves the needle toward Choose something to build that moves the needle toward what you want in life. Think of it as a traditional goal, but a project. Choose something to build that moves the needle toward what you want in life. Think of it as a traditional goal, but a project turns the goal into a system. Create a note and brain dump everything that comes to mind. Say 3 to 5 sources of inspiration you want to emulate. Study those sources and break down their structure. Outline the project into sections, milestones, and what you need to learn. Now that you are ready to start, don't start learning. Start with what you know. Learning comes from struggle, not memorization. Start the project. Let it expose the gaps in your knowledge. Try to figure it out. Search for the answer when your mind is most likely to remember it. Lever moving task. Every single day complete at least 1 to 3 priority tasks and move the needle toward completing the project. Only piece of productivity advice you need. A good rule of thumb is after 2 weeks, if you haven't made any noticeable progress towards your goal, you're not moving the right levers. You are doing something wrong. Most people won't admit that, or they will intentionally do busy work to avoid making progress. That's an even bigger problem. Your mind notices opportunities to achieve your goals, and many people have an unconscious or deeply programmed goal of staying the same. They want to fail. So far, our anti-distraction frame is composed of a vision, anti-vision hierarchy of goals, projects, lever-moving tasks. This creates a tight feedback loop that encourages more flow states, enjoyments, and progress. That's the foundation. That's what pushes you deeper into the unknown. Lastly, how do you actually navigate the highs, lows, emotions, uncertainty along the way? It's signal, not noise. You're supposed to feel lost. You're supposed to feel overwhelmed. You're supposed to feel like you have no idea what you're doing. What in the world did you expect to happen when you decided to change your life? Did you just think that all possible knowledge and skill would be deposited into your head the moment you try to do something? When you commit to building your own thing, you commit to a life of uncertainty because you commit to a life of learning. The thing is, the most successful people don't flinch at this. They don't perceive uncertainty as something dangerous. So their fight or flight response doesn't go off. They can track into the unknown with a clear head, allowing them to make proper decisions. How? By the way, we just looked at our new gym today, and I think I might go to this new gym now. Yes, we'll go to this new gym. Because they realize that all outside gains lie in their ability to embrace, manage, and extend uncertainty. They realize that the certain life is the least rewarding. A job is certain. Your paycheck reflects that. A business is certain, depending on what level you're operating at. What is the most interesting thing happening in AI right now? Truly agentic, action-oriented AI that can handle real-world tasks autonomously, integrate into daily life co-work style systems exploding. Organize your work, triage email files, and handle boring admin autonomously. Actual co-workers other than prompt responders. Physical AI robotics heating up fast. Boston Dynamics, Hyundai, gaining serious momentum. Google DeepMind, Genie updates. Jan LeCun's new lab. Oh my god. Jan LeCun, what's up? Tell me more. Grok and ChatGPT together. Let's go. Intelligence is not about predicting next choice, it's about learning how the world behaves. You don't get real planning, consensus, or reliable autonomy. JIPA. Joint embedding predictive architecture. Predict every pixel token precisely. Bring abstract representations of what matters, ignore noise. Planning beats fluency. Need foresight, not verbosity. Scaling laws aren't enough. Bigger models is not bigger grounding. World models add structure, not just parameters. Fewer labels, strong inductive biases, learn internal simulators. And there is on biology and science. You are delivering concrete breakthroughs, not compressing drug discovery timelines dramatically. Drug CLIP screening billions of interactions in hours, days instead of months or years. Arc Institute stack doing zero-shot predictions across completely unseen tissues drugs. Dedicated teams and actual in silico virtual lab screening thousands of experiments without wet lab costs. Most exciting real-world impact here right now. Infinite scaling forevermore. How do we make usable, interoperable, embedded in reality? Really cool. Really cool. A job is certain, your paycheck reflects that. A business is uncertain depending on what level you're operating at. Starting out with local business agency work, freelancing, or even information products is level 1. You have a cap of about 1 to 5 million a year before you need to increase the stakes even further by hiring a team or expanding the business model. Something like software or physical products. The same goes for investing. You can invest your savings in a certain 401k. You can invest in the stock market. You can invest in businesses, Bitcoin, or even more uncertain assets. People are so afraid of making mistakes that they make the biggest mistake of them all, not making mistakes. Imagine a self-driving car. Refine the system that shapes the mind of the car, can navigate roads with ease and maybe arguably safer than a human driving the car. Even though we don't think of it like this self-driving car made millions, if not billions, of mistakes before it could actually reach a meaningful destination. I wish I could tell you that everyone reading this can just see success the first time they start working toward a goal, but if that were the case, the goal would lose all meaning. Everything we just did is useful, but I cannot hold your hand throughout the process, nor can anyone else. You must go through the exact same process as every other successful person. You must invest in your portfolio of failures until you can afford to succeed. Wow. I thought it would be much more longer, but we completed it. 2 million. Let's go. We pretty much spent almost 1 hour reading that. It's amazing. And now I'm gonna go back to Mihai. Maximize time spent in self-directed high challenge, meaning generating flow. North Star, one dominant game. Flow fragments when you play too many games. You get one primary game for a 3 to 5 year window. Criteria for the game: hard enough that you're never done learning, open-ended, no clear winning state, compounds identity, skill, leverage. Problem big enough to reorganize your day. System action. Every week ask, did this week increase my surface area for deep engagement with my main game? If not, something leaks. Attention architecture, your real calendar. Time blocking is secondary. Attention zoning is primary. The three zones. Deep flow, creation, research, synthesis, building. Shallow craft, 1 to 3 hours per day. Maintenance, less than 1 hour per day. The three zones: deep flow, creation, research, synthesis, building. Shallow craft, editing, responding, refining, publishing. Maintenance, logistics, admin, chores. Never start the day in maintenance, that poisons the well. Deep flow, always start the day with deep flow. Let's go. Trigger ritual, same place, same doing, same first action. You are training your nervous system, not motivating yourself. Challenge, calibration loop. Challenge and skill drift apart. Weekly calibration. What felt boring this week? Increase difficulty. What caused anxiety or avoidance? Reduce scope, not ambition. Where did time disappear effortlessly? Protect this fiercely. Change constraints, not goals. Tighter deadlines. Smaller output units. Public commitments. Adjustment lever. Change constraints, not goals. Tighter deadlines. Smaller output units. Public commitments. Output as feedback. Tighter deadlines. Okay, this is really cool. We started 100 days of Claude Code, and it was interesting to first start with something that we can get done quickly, very quickly. So that is good. Okay. Output as feedback, not performance. Flow thrives on immediate feedback, not applause. Rule: every deep session must end with a concrete artifact, a paragraph, a sketch, a model, a question, refine. Publish or share before it feels ready. Polish comes later. Momentum comes first. Think of output as a probe into reality, not a verdict on your worth. Ego hygiene, kill self-consciousness on entry. No one is watching. This is a draft. I'm allowed to be bad, then start badly immediately. Flow begins out of embarrassment. Would have happened if anyone were watching. Energy before discipline. Flow is physiological before it's philosophical. Sleep as a creative amplifier. Movement that feels playful, not punishing. Light hunger beats heavy fullness. Signal to noise and consciousness, not virtue. Movement that feels playful, not punishing. Movement that feels playful, not punishing. This is so important. Movement that feels playful, not punishing. Wow. This is actually very interesting. Playful. Playful. How to be more playful? Who, actually cancel that. Who are some people who talk about being playful? Okay, boredom as a compass. Boredom isn't a flaw, it's information. If bored, skill is more than challenge. If anxious, challenge is more than skill. Do not numb boredom, let it point. Periodic identity shedding. Flow requires becoming someone slightly new. Quality question. What version of me is the system trying to grow out of? Wow. I want to ask ChatGPT that question. Then deliberately drop one outdated habit. I think one thing that we are trying to definitely do is get into it, get to a good gym, because right now we are not working out as we should be. So get to your good gym and get to your gym. Start waking up early. Yes. Then deliberately drop one outdated habit, abandon one identity label, choose one harder problem. Evolution keeps flow alive. Evolution is really important. Rapid evolution. Trying to grow out of. Then deliberately drop one outdated habit, abandon one identity label, choose one harder problem. Evolution keeps flow alive. The meta role. If you need willpower, the system is wrong. Flow-friendly systems pull you in. Shrink resistance. Make starting easier than avoiding. Flow-friendly systems pull you in. Shrink resistance. Make starting easier than avoiding. The whole thing in one sentence. Design your life so the easiest thing to do is the most absorbing, difficult, and meaningful thing you could be working on. Design your life so the easiest thing to do. Wow. design your life. So the easiest thing to do, based on everything that you know about me, how should I? This is really cool. If you need willpower, the system is wrong. Flow-friendly systems pull you in. Shrink resistance, make starting easier than avoiding. So the easiest thing to do is the most absorbing, difficult, and meaningful thing you could be working on. Clean constellation of thinkers who treat playfulness not as fluff, but as a serious mode of intelligence. Wow. Mihai, play is... So this is Mihai, okay. A chance encounter with Carl Jung in Switzerland ignited his passion for psychology. United States at 22, he earned BA, PhD, University of Chicago, theory of flow. Psychological state in which people are fully immersed and energized by an activity that balances challenge and skill. Features such as intense focus, loss of self-consciousness, distorted time, sense, intrinsic enjoyment. His research ranged from artists and athletes to scientists and executives, showing that happiness arises from purposeful engagement. Very cool. Very cool. Very interesting. The evolving self, creativity and good business. Flow, the secret of happiness, has been enough for you. He's a fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, recipient of the Grand Cross of the Order of Merit of the Republic of Hungary. What is happening? Continues to shape fields of education, sports, to management and user experience design. Really cool. Mihai, oh no, this isn't closed. This closes like this. Play is the gateway to flow. Voluntary challenge, deep enjoyment, optimal experience. Stuart Brown, founder of the National Institute of Play, argues play is biological, not optional. A play-deprived life leads to rigidity, depression, and poor problem solving. Donald, famous line, it is in playing that the individual is able to be creative and use the whole personality. Play is where the true self emerges. Carl Jung took play, fantasy, and imagination seriously as tools for individuation. Active imagination is disciplined play with the psyche. Play, fantasy, and imagination seriously as tools for imagination for individuation. Active imagination is disciplined play with the psyche. Philosophy, culture, and meaning. Johann Huizinga, author of Homo Ludens, civilization itself arises from play. Law, war, art, and ritual all start as games. Friedrich Nietzsche, the child is the highest stage of the spirit, innocence, play, and creative, saying yes to life. Alan wants life as a game worth playing, not a problem to solve. As a game worth playing, not a problem to solve. Seriousness is often just fear in a suit. Herman Hesse, the glass bead game portrays intellectual play as a sacred, world-shaping act. Creativity, learning, and innovation. See more. Papered play. Playful tinkering beats instruction. Very interesting. We might have a new title now. We'll just update it to ad play. Okay. And super base Vercel. I think Vercel. Okay, so we will slowly get into the deep software engineering things that I always avoided. So we'll get it deep into that. Okay, parfait. We have updated the couple things that we had to update, and okay. Playful tinkering beats instruction. Children and adults learn best by building and messing around. John Cleese, his creativity talks emphasize the playful mode as relaxed, curious, and open to absurdity. Playful mode as relaxed, curious, and open to absurdity. Brian Eno uses games, constraints, and chance operations to spark creativity. Games, constraints, and chance operations to spark creativity. Play as anti-perfectionism. Play as anti-perfectionism. Okay. Chance operations to spark creative. Play as anti-perfectionism. Roger, a whack on the side of the head. Champions. Play as the fastest way to escape rigid thinking. Modern voices. Adjacent thinkers. Kevin carry lifelong curiosity and playful exploration as the engine of long-term creativity. Calls play the natural state of smart people. If it feels like work, you're probably forcing it. Advocates experimentation and life as a series of low-stakes tests. Play reduces fear. The pattern, this is the important part. Across psychology, philosophy, and innovation, play consistently means voluntary engagement. Curiosity over outcome. Curiosity over outcome. Flexibility instead of rigidity. Exploration before optimization. Voluntary engagement. Play isn't childish. It's a pre-defensive intelligence. Just mid-shed. What version of me is the system trying to grow out of? Must become obsolete for flow to be the default. Know what to fix, what to outgrow. Below our most conversion, this kind of systems quietly dissolve. The outcome addict itself. This version keeps checking the horizon instead of inhabiting the terrain. Traits. Measures days by results, not absorption. Delays joy until something lands. Treats effort as a toll booth, not a place. A process anchored self that trusts momentum, satisfaction mid-stride, not at the finish line. Flow can coexist with obsession over outcomes. Attention leaks. Delays joy until something lands. Treats effort as a toll booth, not a place. What replaces it? A process anchored self that trusts momentum. Satisfaction mid-stride, not at the finish line. A process anchored self that trusts momentum. The self-narrating self. The one constantly asking, how does this look? What will this mean about me? Traits chronic self-monitoring, subtle performance anxiety, difficult starting without an audience. What replaces it? A maker who forgets themselves while working. Identity formed after action, not before. Flow begins the moment self-commentary goes silent. The over-optimizing self. This version wants the perfect system before engagement. Traits tool hopping. Framework stacking. Planning as procrastination. What replaces it? A constraint loving self. Someone who adjusts while moving. Flow prefers friction over finesse. The permission seeking self. Waiting for clarity. What replaces a constraint loving self? Someone who adjusts while moving. Waiting for clarity, confidence, or endorsement. Traits. Once I know more. Once I'm ready. Once this makes sense. What replaces it? A self that enters before certainty. One that learns inside the activity. A self that enters before certainty. One that learns inside the activity. Flow only opens once you cross the threshold slightly unprepared. The defensively serious self. Fear of seeming naive, suppressed curiosity, rigid posture toward problems, a playful intelligence, seriousness about questions, lightness about ego. Flow is incompatible with defensiveness. It requires openness. The fragmented self, pulled by notifications, obligations, ambient noise. Traits shallow attention, constant context switching, feeling busy but thin. A unified self with fewer deeper commitments, longer stretches of single threaded thought. Flow needs continuity the way fire needs oxygen. The meta answer. The system is growing you out of the version of yourself that needs reassurance before immersion. Trust absorption over approval. Chooses depth over optionality. That's like a resume, more like a game worth playing well. Don't ask what do I want to become, ask who can no longer survive in the environment I'm designing. Where ease lives. Right now, ease leaks into exploration. You're not short on ideas, intelligence, or ambition. Your bottleneck is where ease lives. Right now, ease leaks into exploration, meta thinking, horizon scanning. Flow lives one layer deeper. The move is to tilt gravity. Becomes the hardest meaningful thing. The core diagnosis, blunt, kind, accurate. You thrive on big questions, conceptual synthesis. Childlike curiosity, public thinking, long arcs. You stall when optionality stays too open. Feedback is delayed or abstract. The system rewards thinking about work more than being inside it. Choose one arena that gets all the oxygen. Choice, shorten feedback, collapse thinking into doing. Public by default. Open-ended, not finish line. Forces synthesis. Produces artifacts continuously. Slightly intimidating the name because it excludes other entities. Rule: anything not serving this arena becomes administratively harder, not forbidden, just heavier. Make your sacred difficulty physically obvious. Must announce what matters. One primary workspace only, if configured by writing, thinking, building, recording. No Slack, no feeds, no ambient novelty. When you sit there, the question, what should I do, should feel absurd. The answer is embodied. If your body knows what to do, your mind will follow. Collapse exploration into output. It's critical for you. You like reading, watching, thinking, collecting. That's fuel, but it's too comfortable. Exploration is only allowed inside creation. Examples: you read, write a paragraph. You think, you sketch a model. You watch, you record a 2-minute synthesis. Curiosity into forward motion instead of a holding pattern. No decision, no setup, no warming up. Same time window, same first micro action, same physical cue. Drink, light, music, silence. The goal is not motivation, the goal is automaticity. You notice you are already working. Use public commitment as gentle gravity. So use soft public pressure, no hard deadlines. I'll go live even if I don't know yet. I'll publish fragments, not conclusions. Make distractions slightly annoying, not evil. Delay feeds, not to punish yourself, but to let your nervous system choose depth by default. The game is over. Weekly question. What did I make easier than my main game this week? Then reverse it. Those systems evolve without drama. The identity juggler, insight collector, almost started self. Version waiting for clarity. Curiosity immediately lands. Thinking is inseparable from output. Flow is not rare but routine. Put your hardest, most meaningful work directly in the path of least resistance. No heroics, no willpower, just